One summer day, my friend and I decided to embark on an exciting adventure at the famous Niblandia Amusement Park, located in the heart of New Jersey. We had an amazing day, moving from one ride to another, filling our time with laughter and excitement. As the sun set and the park transformed into a world of bright lights and bustling energy, we decided to end our day with a visit to the infamous haunted house. Later, I felt incredibly exhausted, so I decided to take a short break in one of the quiet corners. I closed my eyes for just a few minutes, but when I woke up, I found myself completely alone. The park had become deserted, the lights were dim, and an eerie silence filled the air. I tried searching for my friend, but there was no sign of him. To make matters worse, the doors were locked, and there was no way out. Now I'm trapped in this terrifying place. I felt as though something was watching me from the shadows. A cold shiver crept down my spine, and fear started to engulf me. I started to hear strange footsteps, but they weren't mine. The sound seemed to come from everywhere around me. As I searched every corner, I suddenly heard the sound of a door slamming shut. I turned quickly, but there was nothing there. My heart pounded in my chest and I felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. I decided to head toward the exit. The park had closed, but I thought I would find someone outside. But as soon as I reached the main gate, I was stunned. The large doors we had entered through earlier that day were now locked tight. I tried to open them, but it was no use. Every exit was sealed. This can't be happening, I muttered to myself, trying to keep the rising panic at bay. I was alone, trapped in this enormous park, and the darkness seemed to be growing thicker. I tried calling Jake on my phone, but the signal was too weak to connect. Terrifying thoughts started to flood my mind. What if Jake didn't just disappear? What if something worse had happened to him? Or worse still, what if I was just part of some twisted game inside this haunted house? I wandered through the park, desperately searching for any way out. The paths that had been bustling with people earlier that morning were now completely deserted. The rides had stopped, and the joyful sounds of the day had transformed into an eerie silence. Everything felt like a different world, one filled with shadows and terror. As I walked slowly, I started hearing strange noises again. Footsteps, coming closer and then retreating, but there was no one there. I felt the cold settle deep in my bones and the unsettling feeling that something or someone was watching me from the darkness. I tried to shake off these thoughts, but there was something in the air that suggested I wasn't alone. In the middle of one of the large open areas, I heard a loud sound, almost like a sinister laugh. I froze in place, turning toward the source of the noise, but all I could see was darkness. Then, I saw something move. Someone or something was coming toward me. Fear consumed me completely, and I made my way toward one of the kiosks, hoping to hide. But as I got closer, I felt a cold hand touch my shoulder. I spun around quickly, but there was no one there. Then the sound came again. That sinister laugh that sent a chill down my spine. I started running in the opposite direction, trying to escape, but there was no way out. The place seemed to shift, as if I was walking in circles with no end. Every time I got close to what I thought was an exit, I found myself back in the same spot. The end of the night hours passed as I wandered through the terrifying place. I had lost all sense of time. The darkness, the cold, and the strange noises that echoed every now and then made me feel like I was trapped in an endless nightmare. Finally, I collapsed onto the ground, exhausted and scared. I could hear nothing but the pounding of my heart, and I started to wonder, would I ever make it out of this place alive? As I sat there trembling in the dark, a sudden noise broke the silence, a low creaking sound like old metal being forced to move. My eyes darted toward the direction of the sound, and I froze in terror. One of the rides, the Ferris wheel, had begun to turn on its own. Slowly at first, the giant wheel groaned to life, its rusted metal squealing as it picked up speed. But no one was operating it, and no one was on board. The roller coaster, towering over the park, suddenly roared as if it had been activated. The cars raced along the tracks, the clatter of wheels echoing through the air. But the seats were empty. It was as though the machines themselves had come alive, possessed by something unseen, something sinister. I could feel my pulse racing as I backed away slowly, my eyes wide with disbelief. The park had become something out of a nightmare, rides moving on their own, lights flickering in the darkness, and eerie music playing from unseen speakers. Every sound, every movement seemed to mock me, reminding me that I was trapped, completely alone, and at the mercy of whatever haunted this place. As the night wore on, I realized that I wasn't just stuck in an abandoned amusement park. I was in a living nightmare, surrounded by machines that had minds of their own. There was no escape, only the constant, creeping dread of what would happen next. Would I survive until morning? Or was I destined to become another ghostly presence? As the fear grew, I couldn't think of anything other than finding a safe place to hide. While wandering in the darkness, I noticed a small room near the park's gate. It was the gatekeeper's room, and although it had been closed all night, I managed to get inside through a broken window. I lay down on the floor, exhausted and terrified, hoping for the morning sun that seemed so far away. I sat in the corner of the room, trying to calm myself as the eerie sounds outside continued. The deadly silence that enveloped the place only grew worse as the hours passed, but I couldn't close my eyes. Finally, the darkness began to fade, and with it, life slowly returned to the park. As the first rays of sunlight appeared, I heard the workers arriving. One of them opened the door to the room where I had been hiding, and they found me lying on the floor, exhausted and dazed. They gently woke me up and asked what had happened, but I didn't answer. I couldn't say a single word. I just looked at them with eyes filled with the terror of the night I had endured. Slowly, I stood up, gathering what little strength I had left, and quietly headed toward the gate. I didn't look back, and I didn't explain anything. I just wanted to go home.